before I was doing work with spiritual work with people. I started to do some mentorship as well because I realized that I had a talent for energy, for understanding the way that reality is structured from a spiritual, multidimensional perspective. And I started to mentor people. I do mentorship, spiritual mentorship. I teach people basically how to do everything that I do: readings, energy clearings, working on the grids, understanding themselves, past life regression, and all that stuff. So, and yeah, so I began sharing a lot of my perspectives on social media, especially on Facebook, and it caught the attention of a lot of people, and grew a little following there. And then I got invited to interviews and things like that where I can share my perspective to a broader audience, etc. And then it just led to Sarah looking at my content, be like, wow, and so she extended the invitation to me, and now I'm here. So long story short. All right, so I want to talk about a few things. So these are my talking points. I make things very, very simple. I just need a little bit, and then I can just go from there. So I'm going to be talking about the reality of the spirit world, how to identify consciousness traps, and how to navigate the spiritual journey safely. Then there's the inner child and spiritual maturity, the dynamics of the higher self and our multidimensionality, spiritual authority and how to step into it, healing and unlocking our DNA and using our spiritual gifts, understanding the crystalline matrix, its grid systems, and how it manages reality. And I'm also going to do some galactic updates as well. So that's going to be an important one. Okay, so the reality of the spiritual world, how to identify consciousness traps, and how to navigate the spiritual journey safely. So I want to start off by explaining what is a consciousness trap. So a consciousness trap is basically a set of ideas, paradigms that grabs your consciousness and keeps it in a certain vibration. So what that means is that there's a lot of spiritual perspectives out there. There's a lot of people sharing their own perspective of what they've received from spirit. That could either be good or bad, And there are many perspectives out there that keep people in a state of confusion or fear. So any spiritual perspective that creates fear or that keeps you in confusion, not understanding what's happening or what's even being said, is a consciousness trap, where there's this thing I call terminology bombing. And I've seen that a lot, where there's nothing wrong with using terminologies, but if there is no concrete, practical explanation of the spiritual terminologies so that people can understand and apply it to their personal journey, then it's just a wow factor, right? So there are many people that get caught up in the presentation of something, how words sound, without really understanding or being able to apply what's actually being said. They're just like, oh wow, that sounds so cool, that sounds so wise, but they're not really understanding it. So what happens with consciousness traps is that it causes you to regurgitate the information without really understanding what it really means, right? And there's a lot of that happening. So a part of what I do in the social media is I try to help people understand how to discern a consciousness trap and whether they're in one or not, and how to navigate out of it. Because if you cannot apply the information that you are reading or hearing to your personal journey in any way, then it's really not for you. Even it doesn't matter how cool the information sounds or how wise the person may appear. If you cannot apply it to yourself, then you really don't need to be receiving it, because then it's just excess information that you don't need. And so what tends to happen a lot is people fall into information overload, where they are taking in so many perspectives from so many different people without properly discerning what they're intaking. And so it just causes them to just pack on information. And so what it does is that it begins to cloud the intuition. And so And so a part of what I do is to help people navigate through what's unnecessary information versus what's actually for them. And so that's the point of a lot of what I say. I teach a lot about discernment. Spiritual discernment is a big thing for me, especially discerning the people that people are listening to. So, all right, so that's one. How to navigate a spiritual journey safely. So, as I mentioned before, discernment is a big thing. Is actually one of the most important tools that is within our arsenal that we really need to use in order to avoid a lot of unnecessary pitfalls, especially consciousness traps. So, discerning who you're listening to, also who you are receiving energy work from. So that's another big thing. You know, many healers, many psychics, or whether it's energy work or healings, readings, past life regression, etc. When you agree to have someone perform any kind of spiritual work on you, you are opening your energy to some capacity to what they have. And so discernment is very important so that you can be able to distinguish who you should be listening to or working with so that you can keep your energy protected. So the reason I say that is because that, we live in a reality where unfortunately not everyone is of integrity, and that's just a fact, And so discerning, listening to your intuition, really asking yourself if you should be listening or talking to this person is very, very important so that you avoid getting hurt or getting any of your energy siphoned, which is something that happens. It's so common in the spiritual community. There's a lot of people that siphon energy, and the way that happens is that, the psychics, they understand how to weave energy, So unfortunately, they're not weaving it with integrity, and therefore they take advantage of certain people and they steal their codes. So a code is basically your spiritual gifts, your abilities. So for example, I've had many people come to me saying, after working with so-and-so, they felt they could not see much from the third eye anymore, or they felt like or like a big hole was missing in their heart, etc. And so what I have found through my experience working with many different people, recovering, doing a lot of soul retrieval, recovering a lot of their precious spiritual items, is that they've had it siphoned from others, And sometimes this happens, like the person that's doing the siphoning, sometimes it's unconscious and sometimes it's very conscious. They do it on purpose, like they know what they're doing. So that is a reality that I try to bring to the forefront so people can understand what's happening, the good and the bad and everything else in between, so that they can protect their energies from anything being stolen. So the reason why things are siphoned from people is because those who are doing the siphoning, there's many reasons for that. So the first reason is they've had some kind of past life karma that they are still working through. And what happens with that is that they fall or their frequency lowers, where they lose access to a particular frequency. And so what that does is that it causes them to become very vampiric. So they begin to siphon the light of others so they can stay afloat, vibrationally speaking. And through that process, they are also able to avoid certain karmic repercussions, because siphoning other people is a very illegal thing energetically. Like, you don't do that to people. And so some of them are able to avoid karmic repercussions because of it, because they siphon the codes and the light of others, and they reach a certain vibrational state from other people's light that they avoid the karmic threshold. And so this is something that I also try to bring awareness to, so that people can really protect themselves. Like, if you feel something off about somebody in the spiritual community, there is discernment, because sometimes it could just be that you're triggered, or it's something with them. So it's important to understand if it's something coming from you that they are triggering, or it's something with them that you need to be aware of and stay away from. So that's important. Okay. the inner child and spiritual maturity. So this ties into what I was talking about earlier about using your discernment, because the inner child is just like any other child, like in the 3D. So if you're at a park, with your children, you're not going to allow them to just talk to strangers, right? Obviously, because there's an understanding, there's a common sense element that it could be potentially dangerous, and because that there's bad people out there, right, that don't have the best interest of children in mind, and because that there are predators. The same thing applies spiritually. There are spiritual predators. There are spiritual vampires. And it's not just people that just drain your energy within conversation and things like that. These are people that can impose themselves on you sometimes, even if it breaks spiritual law, they can still do it. But that's why spiritual protection is important. So back to the inner child. It's important to protect the inner child like you would any normal child. And so what happens with what I've come to notice with people is that they approach reality from the perspective of the inner child. And there's nothing wrong with applying certain things with regards to the inner child and seeing reality with this wonder and with this sense of innocence and purity and love. There's nothing wrong with that. We should do that. However, it has its place like everything else. And so sometimes you need to put the child in the back seat, and the mature part of you needs to step forward in certain instances to protect your inner child from anybody trying to attack you or throw words at you. Because when people are verbally attacking you or psychically attacking you, your inner child takes the hit if you have your inner child in the front. So it's important to protect your inner child and only let your inner child out to play when it's safe to do so. Now, I'm not saying to be with this perception that, of paranoia and think that someone's just going to attack you out of nowhere, but it's just to keep your inner child safely within your heart and to create a safe container for your inner child within yourself. And so that will protect your inner child from any harm, from any siphoning happening, from other people, etc. Okay. So the dynamics of the higher self and our multidimensionality. Okay, so this is a huge one. So I do something called higher self multidimensional readings, where I basically walk people through identifying their multidimensionality, their higher self, their mission, etc. So the higher self, as it is commonly understood, is basically the over-encompassing consciousness, right? The highest part of who you are vibrationally, the part of you that is connected with source energy at all times. But even your higher self takes the form of something. So there's this formless aspect, but there's also a part of it that takes form. And so the higher self, what it does is that it creates different avatars, different embodiments, and these different embodiments exist within multiple dimensions. So for example, there is the angelic realm, there's the fairy realm, there is the dragon realm, there is the extraterrestrial, that's a big one. And any unicorn, like any mythical creature that you can think of in any fairy tale, exists within the spiritual realm, acting as multidimensional embodiments of people on Earth. So your physical vessel is just one of the avatars of your higher self. And so what the higher self does is that it distributes its consciousness within the different embodiments, within the different avatars, to experience a particular version of spiritual reality. So, for example, I have multiple multidimensional versions. So I have an angelic version, very warrior-like. I have a dragon version, also warrior, like warrior and everything. I have a fairy version, I have elven version, and all of you have different versions as well, existing in different realms. So your connection, the connection that you may feel to a particular realm, is because you have an avatar that exists there. And so this feeling of being multidimensional, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, it's coming from these different versions of you that are existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously to your human avatar. And so the point of multidimensionality, what needs to happen is that the human avatar version of you needs to consciously connect with the different avatars that embody your higher self consciousness, because each of them have a particular gift or coding or ability or piece of wisdom that can help assist you in this human reality, help assist you in your mission. So sometimes your spirit guides can actually be a part of yourself sometimes. A lot of times it is the case. So there are spirit guides, and then there are multidimensional embodiments that also act as spirit guides for yourself. So learning how to discern that is, pretty important as well. So the multidimensional awakening is something that is accelerating, especially this year for 2023, because more and more people are ready to connect with these different versions of themselves because they are ready for mission work. So that's another thing, is mission work. Many people in the spiritual community, they have been connecting, and also through our readings as well, have been connecting with different versions of themselves. Like, for example, someone having an angelic version that says, hey, you need to create a healing container or like a healing dome or a plant medicine container, etc. So it's all these different inspirations that people are receiving to create different things. It's coming from their multidimensionality, whispering it to them because it's a part of their mission. So your multidimensional avatars, they have your back, especially if you are currently walking the path of trying to understand your mission and like actual mission work, or stepping into positions of spiritual leadership. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about, is spiritual leadership, or the term leadership. So because of what the collective have been experiencing for so many years, where the leaders of the planet, the many different leaders, they basically sold us out on many levels, and there's been so much corruption on the planet because they've created contracts with malevolent factions, malevolent ETs, to basically give them the energetic permission to mess with humanity in so many ways. So there's been genetic experiments, there's been a lot of abductions, there's been a lot of attacks, and just so many things that they have done to humanity because the leaders have sold us out. And so this is a huge reason why people have a natural resistance to anyone of any position of authority. I do encourage a healthy, resistance of authority. I really do. But a lot of people, they take that and they tend to believe that spiritual leadership is something wrong, that there's something inherently wrong with that. And the fact of the matter is, like, there's really nothing wrong with that. It depends on how you use it. Leadership is a universal term. So anyone can step into any position of leadership to bring a new paradigm or to teach something. And it's not because people don't have access to it or they can't do it themselves, but sometimes there are blockages, right? There's trauma, there's programming, there's all kinds of things that block people from accessing what's already in them. So sometimes they need someone to speak it, or they need something, or they need to enter some kind of container or a reading or something done for them to help them access what's there. So it's not just, oh yeah, everything's within. Well, it's like, okay, but that's not enough because there's so many blockages that's preventing people from connecting to what's within. So this is why many people now are being inspired to create many different types of containers to help people heal, to give people more understanding, create good foundations for them to begin stepping into other versions of things that they're here to do, etc. Okay, so this is why connecting with your multidimensionality is very important. So the way that you do it, the way that you connect with your multidimensionality, and I created a video on this, but you basically get into meditation, and you don't always have to be in a lotus pose. Meditation, anything that can get you into meditation, whether it's music, binary beats, whatever, anything that gets you in this like trance state where you're able to be more receptive and more sensitive to what spirit has to show you or your higher self. And you basically just pop the question, which multidimensional version or which multidimensional avatar wants to come through? And you say it with that intention, with the awareness of these multiple avatars, and you will begin to see multiple beings step through. And those beings, it is you. It's just a different avatar that embodies the same consciousness. So there is a type of connection that is between all of your avatars. And the goal, the mission of everyone is to become consciously aware of this, of their multidimensional avatars, so that they can understand reality from a broader perspective, because each avatar, they bring a unique perspective of spiritual reality. They really do. They also bring a unique perspective of you and the many different things that you do simultaneously in other realms and dimensions. And so this gives people a broader understanding of who they are. Because saying that I'm the universe or I'm one with everything, it doesn't necessarily help people understand the finer details of what's happening with them. That is, saying that you're the universe helps at the beginning to introduce this concept that you're more than just your 3D vessel, right? That's really all it does. But if you want to go deeper with yourself and understand where you come from, what is your mission, what is your purpose, your multidimensional avatars have the answer. They have a piece to the puzzle. When you begin connecting with them, you begin to understand why you're here. And it begins to answer questions of certain experiences that you've had in your life. And so this is the next level of the Great Awakening, is the multidimensional awakening, the multidimensional avatar awakening. Okay, so spiritual authority and how to step into it. Okay, so spiritual authority is basically the degree that the spiritual realm responds to you. So what that means is, when you are naming and claiming it or trying to manifest your reality, right? Just trying to manifest things into the ether and channeling your intention, your energy, you do ceremonies. So the degree of how quickly it happens and how efficiently it happens depends on your spiritual authority. That is your connection with spirit. That is your, that's just your authority. The other level of authority is also has to do with the malevolent entities. So the malevolent entities, right, the bad, the spirits, the demons, whatever you want to call it, they play a huge role in helping people step into their spiritual authority. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of karma, a lot of trauma, a lot of oppression, a lot of pain, and a lot of it is attached to negative beings that feed off of this. So when we have unresolved trauma or anything that we're dealing with that's just like unresolved, whether in your subconscious or deep within your energy, in your heart, in your chakras, these negative beings, these negative entities, they like to feed on this stuff. And they also install programming. They also make it difficult for people to heal and move on from certain things. And so spiritual authority is basically stepping into your more of an expanded awareness of who you are, a multidimensional awareness, because connecting with your multidimensionality, it gives you a sense of power. You feel more confident. There's more power when you speak. So when you are channeling your intentions with the knowledge of who you are multidimensionally, it imbues your words with more power. And so that is really the secret to manifestation. It's connecting with these different versions of yourself, and each of them imbues your energy with more power to manifest. Or when you are claiming your sovereignty, right? Or when you are telling the entities to go, or whatever it is, protecting yourself, to the degree that they listen will depend on how connected you are with yourself. Because some people, they try to cast these things out and nothing happens, As a matter of fact, like worse things happen to them in some cases. And so that all has to do with your spiritual authority and like where you stand, energetically speaking. And so a part of what I do is not only clear people of this, but also help them understand how to step into their sovereignty. So sovereignty isn't just something that you look in the mirror and you claim, or you do mantras, even though those things help to reprogram the subconscious. It does. Spiritual sovereignty is a process. It really is a long process of understanding your own habits, your own patterns of self-sabotage, or anything, or any kind of programming, thought patterns that creates ripples or stagnation in certain parts of your life. And so it's just really important to just understand that stepping into your spiritual authority is a process, and it's not just about claiming it, but it's about connecting with your multidimensional aspects, because that imbues you with more power, with more confidence, with more energy, or should I say more spiritual pressure. That pressure is felt, and the universe responds more to you according to your spiritual pressure. And so you build it by connecting with these different parts of you. So I also want to address the labels, right? So that's another one that's being thrown around a lot. The topic of labels and multidimensionality, angelic, right? Fairy and all this stuff, and these things are labels. These things aren't necessarily labels. It's a part of multidimensionality. It's a part of who you are. Because people say labels in a very limiting way, but the thing is that these multidimensional versions, they hold your power. They hold pieces of your power. So in order for you to truly connect with your spiritual sovereignty overall, it's important to connect with these different multidimensional versions. And that's how you will begin to embody that spiritual pressure. Like also when you speak, people will feel it. They will feel the power behind your words, whether you write or speak, or whether you are doing energy work. It also imbues the clearing, the healing, whatever it is that you're doing. If you are facilitating any kind of circle, it will imbue everything that you do with more potency. That's spiritual authority. Spiritual authority is spiritual potency. Whether you speak or what you're doing, that's what it is. And you build it by connecting with these different avatars. And these different avatars, they will also give you a piece of knowledge of whatever is hindering you. Like maybe you have self-destructive thought patterns, or, things that habits that you do. Like they will point out things with your shadow for you to work on, because these are blockages that block the energy flow. So this also affects the spiritual pressure, like when you're speaking or when you're just existing, right? So when you connect, when you open yourself up to this perspective and you connect with your multidimensional avatars, everything about you will just be more potent. Okay. Healing and unlocking our DNA and using our spiritual gifts. Okay, so this is also something that I do. Healing, clearing, and activation. So our DNA, there is the physical DNA, biological, and then there is the spiritual DNA. So everybody knows the biological one. The spiritual one is, there's the DNA for each and every one of your multidimensional avatars. There's even a DNA for the inner child. I found. There's also there's DNAs from your past lives, or any of the spiritual abilities that you may have accessed in past life, because there were some people who, especially women, they're connected to priestesshoods, right? So there's the priestess past life that they lived, and they did a lot of facilitating and weaving magic and things like that. So that's in the DNA still. And so that's something that can be activated. And so what happens, so our DNA holds all of our spiritual abilities. It also holds our supernatural abilities. So if you've seen people on YouTube levitating objects and levitating, that's part of the DNA as well. And also your psychic abilities, that's in your DNA. Clairvoyance, your ability to channel and manipulate energy, that's in your DNA. Your ability to see with your third, like everything, all of that is within your DNA. So trauma, programming, conditioning, these things block our DNA. So it blocks our psychic perception, it blocks our ability, or hinders or clouds our ability to understand reality for what it really is, physical reality, spiritual reality. It blocks that, or it clouds it. These things can infect your DNA. Like, for example, there are many people that reached out to me because they took the flu shot, and that's very controversial. But what I have found with that is that it has a very short lifespan, but it's intended to do the maximum damage to the DNA. Because once it can alter the DNA, then it creates a situation where all kinds of abnormalities and sicknesses can just form out of nowhere because it alters the DNA. Everything is within the DNA. So that's why the DNA is so important. It's always about the DNA. And so this is why we've been programmed for so many years to, eat toxic food, crap, and watch things that are just not good for us, to program our minds, to make us feel small, to make us feel insignificant, to lack of self-love, and all of these programs. So all of that stuff is in the DNA. And so the inner child, with that one in particular, when I'm working with certain people with the inner child, I tend to focus on the DNA that is with, I guess, that holds the inner child energy. And what I find a lot of times is that the DNA is sometimes a little bit twisted, or it's corrupted. Sometimes it looks black or like mangled, and by healing it, it like straightens out. So there's multiple like strands, or if you can picture like how a DNA looks, the two helixes with the multiple strands. So there's multiple helixes that are responsible for different things. And so unlocking your DNA is definitely a process. So you can do that through changing your diet, of course, because you become what you eat. Not even that's controversial, but eating foods that are more high vibrational, that can basically heal your DNA. Also, energy work is also a very potent way to heal your DNA and to activate it. Also, doing shadow work, self-love, right, and all of those things, because the shadow self also hinders and blocks you from accessing your DNA. So, and your shadow has everything to do with yourself, right? It is your self-doubt, it is your fear, it is your self-sabotaging thought patterns, habits, things like that. Or maybe a tendency to kind of play around with, lower frequencies and things like that. So that's mostly for magic users and people who are very psychic. They tend to, when they have an unintegrated shadow, they tend to play around with lower vibrational energies, So that's another thing. All right, so understanding the crystalline matrix, its grid system, and how it manages reality. So this brings me to my next picture. So, all right. So this is a really good example of how the matrix looks. Sometimes it's like different shapes. But the matrix, as we have come to understand, is from the Matrix movie, right? Is this idea that we live in a holographic reality with many inverted programs and a reality that's not real, a hologram. And so it's this idea that we live in a manipulated reality that we need to wake up from. So, but that was the base foundation of us understanding what a matrix is and how it functions. I've come to understand through my spiritual work that the matrix itself is not bad. It is a container or a structure or a geometric structure that needs to be repaired. So the matrix, so you can picture the white lines as the crystalline matrix that's over the planet. So this is a real thing that's over the planet. So this crystalline architecture is over, every planet has its own matrix structure. And when you zoom out more, there's a matrix structure over solar systems. Zoom out more, there's a matrix structure over the entire galaxy. So there are many levels of matrices out there that do many different things. So on a fundamental level, the matrices are made out of crystalline energies. And so what this does is that it manages reality. It controls reality, it influences reality. Like, for example, the sentient life that exists within each matrix container is influenced by the matrix. So the concept of the matrix being hacked is actually very true. This is why we have a lot of grid workers, right? And people who do grid work on many different ley lines and many different parts of the planet. This is why many people are being inspired to travel to different places, to do certain ceremonies, to activate the grid lines, because this directly influences the crystalline matrix of the planet itself. So each dot that you see, each white dot, is a node. And each node, there are many people that are being called to travel to certain nodes of each planet, because they, by doing the ceremonies that they do, however which way they do it, they're able to, through their physical body, which is also a vessel of light, are able to activate these nodes to basically heal or to fix the matrix. So the way that looks, so the reason why we've had wars and famine and the imbalances with masculine, feminine energies, poverty, and all of this stuff on the planet is because of the inverted programs installed within the matrix structure. And because of these programs installed, it was able to influence the way reality functions, the way we function, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we process everything. And it caused us to live very inorganic and caused us to perceive reality in a very distorted way. This is why there's a lot of sexual distortion within society, because it's been programmed into the matrix. This is why there's a lot of these perspectives like might makes right and all of these things. And so what happened is that many of the malevolent factions, you can call them Dracos, Archons, Greys, whatever, they had the ability to basically access the energy points of these grids to alter them so that they can create the reality that they wanted. And so that's why this like Draco system is crumbling, because the matrix is being repaired. And so thanks to all the grid workers of the planet, right? So it's a group effort, So we have many grid workers doing many different things. So I made a post about the white dragons, I think in December, and the white dragons being the ones that are, I guess, leading the charge, right, or leading this mission to fix the grids. So many people who have been inspired to work on the grids, whether remotely or traveling geographically, they've seen visions of white dragons or white lions, or like just white beings, or even rainbow dragons. So that's been a theme lately with regards to grid work. And so the white dragons are assisting. They are assisting with fixing time itself. So with the manipulation, the matrix also affects time and space. It affects how we experience time, so that's why there's a lot of deja vu, and there's been a lot of manipulation of time, a lot of technology stolen from ancient civilizations to alter time. They have entered into different realms and dimensions, grabbed certain items infused with power, brought them into a different time, because all of them have like a trace, and they did that, and so it caused a lot of time distortions within the fabric of reality. And so a lot of what's happening right now with people working on the grids at this level, because there's levels of grid work, and so what people are doing is that they're running missions to like retrieve certain items from certain realms and bringing them back to basically untie the big knot, you could say, of time, of the strings of time. And so And so many people are having visions of like traveling into like a broken glass, and it's like a whole realm in and of itself. And so there's many different pieces of these things, and the dragons are helping with that too, and many other benevolent beings. So yeah, so that's a huge one. So all of this is basically fixing the matrix and fixing our reality, so that we can begin to manifest, so that first the old system can crumble, and it already has been crumbling, and it's still crumbling now, because of different parts of the grids being repaired. And so the more we continue to do this, the more we're going to see the manifestation of reality, the more we're going to see our physical reality begin to get better, right? And begin to align itself with what's actually serving humanity versus the opposite way around. So yeah, let me back. So I wanted to also touch on some of the galactics that have been showing themselves to people. So the first ones that I've been connecting with are the Venetians from Venus. So these in particular, they have a strong focus on helping the spiritual collective step into their roles, their mission, like things that they're here to do, whether they're here to create containers or just establish something to assist the collective in some way. The Venetian energy is really helping people connect with their self-confidence so that they can step forward into their mission. A lot of what's blocking people is fear, especially the fear of persecution. That's a big thing that's hindering a lot of people from stepping out with what they're being inspired to speak of or create, etc. So the Venetians are really, there's many ETs that are helping people step into their power, but the Venetians especially, they have a special focus on people who need to step into their mission. So they have a very strong focus on helping the upcoming leaders and people who are creating containers. So that's so that was something that was coming through. There's also the Syrians have been coming through really strong, and they are helping humanity connect more with their psychic insight. So they are helping people connect more with their third eyes. So because it's very important to understand what is happening energetically in your surroundings, within your own energy field, within other people that you're talking to, those who you communicate with, those who you work with, form partnerships with, etc. So it's important to develop your psychic insight, and Assyrian energy is really helping with that, so that you can navigate this journey more safely and with where you can avoid unnecessary trauma and setbacks and things like that. So, all right. So then there are the aquatic ETs. So there's this big, strong element of water energy that's really being felt in the collective right now. And we're in the age of Aquarius, so there's a lot of water elements. So they are, and there's many different aquatic ETs. Some of them are mermaids, some of them are just others. I don't know what they're called, but there is the whales, there's the dolphins. So many people have been connecting with the dolphin energy, the whale energy. The whales are helping people. So there's a portion of the collective that are meant to be scribes, and those that are meant to channel galactic history. So there are galactic historians out there. And the whale energy, they are natural historians. They have a vast amounts of wisdom, and they teach people basically the history of the planet, of the extraterrestrials and things like that. So connecting with the whales, they have a vast amounts of wisdom, and they are here to help people connect with a particular portion of galactic history of this planet. Because galactic history, a lot of it has been distorted, and there's just a lot more holes to fill in. And so there are many people who feel a calling to channel galactic history. And so because history does need to be corrected, there are many extraterrestrial species that are trying to connect with many different people to bring their story forward. because a lot of the species that we know of is just less than 1% of what's out there. Like it's so, there's so many different species that want to connect with different people that are contracted to be historians and to bring a lot of the lost history and also history that's just unknown to this planet, because the purpose for that is to awaken people that have a connection to these extraterrestrials. So there's so many extraterrestrials that are on Earth right now as human beings, and they are also multidimensional versions of people. So going a little bit back to the multidimensionality with regards to the extraterrestrials, is that it's not just the energetic, the disembodied versions like the angelics, the fairies. There's also multidimensional versions of us that are also extraterrestrial, that are existing right now simultaneously with your human self, either on a ship, doing other missions on other planets and things like that, and you're able to connect with that part of you at any time, you know? And so a lot of times when I've connected with my extraterrestrial connections, or I've helped other people connect with them, they're saying, oh, I feel like I'm on a ship right now, you know, I feel like I'm on this, you know, like star system or whatever, you know, like they're always doing something. And so I just find that very interesting. So, all right. So also the Arcturians are coming through, have been coming through very strongly, and this energy is helping people remember their galactic connections, like also galactic royalty. So there's like a very strong royalty energy that's just like exuding out from the Arcturians, because many people are part of so many councils, so many different like royalty, galactic royalty lineages, and it's time to really wake up to that perspective of yourselves, you know, because one thing that I've realized with helping people connect with this part of themselves is that I find that the people that have the most self-doubt are tied to some really powerful lineages out there. You know, I've noticed that a lot, you know, especially galactic lineage, Pleiadian lineage, and there's just so many out there. So the Arcturians are like the frontline energy. They're doing many other things, but the main theme that they wanted me to relate is to help people reconnect back to that royalty, that galactic royalty energy that they're a part of. Okay. All right. I wanted to. Oh, also with the aquatic ETs, they are helping humanity heal past life trauma, especially with Atlantis. So that's been a big theme lately. I even wrote a post about Atlantis. So the aquatic energy, the water energy, by nature, it's a very healing, cleansing energy. And so what the aquatic ETs are doing, they are, because of the grid work that's happening, that is activating ancient ley lines. So what that's doing is that it's activating the energies of ancient civilizations. So there's Atlantis, there's Lemuria, right? There's Mesopotamia, the Aztecs, and all those ancient civilizations that were really, really connected at one point, you know, with source energy. And everyone has a connection with those civilizations to some degree, you know, and they've lived some kind of you know, existence there. And so what's happening is that as these ley lines are being activated in different places of the planet, the civilizations attached to that specific energy is also being activated, which is creating a ripple effect of awakening of people who have lived past lives within those civilizations. So with that awakening is coming trauma, of course, you know. So unfortunately, what I've been noticing is that there have been many suicides that have been happening, and that is because of this. It's an unfortunate side effect of this awakening, you know, but because many of the people, there's a lot of mental insanity that's coming up in people, a lot of psychological trauma, right, that's just coming up. And unfortunately, many people don't have the right people to talk to help them understand what's going on, and they're just like exiting this reality, unfortunately. But the good news is that many of them, are here in this community, and they're having an understanding of what's happening, and they're receiving the help from these many different containers. This is why people are being inspired to create these containers to facilitate this mass healing that's happening right now. So if you felt the urge or the inspiration to create a healing container, inner child container, that's one of the most important ones, the inner child containers, because that's to facilitate the healing of people that are remembering the trauma of past civilizations. But not just that, but also with their current life, past life, and other things as well. But the grid lines being activated is activating the energy of these civilizations, and it's just causing this like ripple of remembrance, and it's a bit chaotic, So that's why we need a lot of healers, all hands on deck, right? So it's a big collective operation. So, all right. So I wanted to do something for the last 30 minutes. I wanted to guide everyone into a meditation of sorts to connect with the higher dimension. So this is something that I recently started doing, is connecting to the higher frequencies and just pulling a lot of that energy down. So what happens with high dimensional energy is that, and this is something that I mentor people on how to access and utilize, because it's just a higher level of energy work, right? So, there's many people who do Reiki and other forms of modalities, using earth magic or, earth energies, the water, the natural elements, and, things like that. But high dimensional energy is much more potent, and accessing high dimensional energies takes a certain level of initiation, especially like utilizing it to, do various forms of energy work, and that includes grid work. I do grid work as well. So I wanted to guide everyone into a meditation, but not just that, I wanted to take everyone on a journey to those higher frequencies. So I did this in my container when I did the New Year Dragon Portal that I did. It was like 200 people attending, and we all took everyone in this huge universal container. Now, let me just explain one thing. So the container is very advanced, so even if we're all in this big space, there is no cross-contamination of energies. That's something that we take very seriously, is energetic hygiene, okay? So you will have, that's number one. So everyone is gonna be in their own personal bubble, even though we're all gonna be in this huge, expansive thing. All right, so everyone just close your eyes and take a deep breath, relax, and just get into a little flow with yourself. All right. Okay. So in this container, everyone is going to have a unique experience. You're going to meet different benevolent beings. You might see some dragons, you might see some fairies, you might see some angelics, water creatures, all kinds of stuff. So it all pertains to your personal journey and what you need to see and experience. And depending on how in tune you are, you will be able to like see or feel what's going on. But just be very in tune with your heart energy. And for the psychics out there, you're in for a treat. All right. So now I'm gonna be sending a golden rope to everyone right now. So I'm going to be pulling up a part of your consciousness. So this is your mental body. So this is the aspect of me that I use to basically travel in different dimensions, or when I'm visiting someone's energy or something, I do it with my consciousness. I project my mental body there. So I'm going to take your mental bodies up there. All right, it's being pulled up, and just be very in tune with what's happening, even the rise that you feel when you're going up in frequency. So So take a moment to really connect with the space, with the energy of everything that's happening, how it's affecting your energy body. You might feel an opening of your chakras or a buzzing, or you might feel an expansion, or you might even start to purge certain things. So there's all kinds of things that happen, but it's all good stuff. All right, so just take a moment to really connect and so I'm going to call forward the spirit beings that would like to present themselves to you or be made aware to you. So just allow yourself to just open your heart to it, open your consciousness to what's there. If you can even get an image of it in your psychic insight, that would be great. But just connect with your heart. So I'm seeing already extraterrestrials pop up. I'm seeing dragons pop up. I'm seeing elven beings pop up for some of you. So there's a lot of different elements that are popping up for you personally. So I'm just going to give that a moment, just give you guys a moment to just really just be in that flow. So for those who are wanting to see better, you can just put the intention and just ask the universe to help calibrate your eyesight, and you'll be able to see certain things. You might see a flash of light. If you see that, focus on the light. Then it will start to take the form of something and just kind of follow it from there. And trust everything that you're seeing. That's another way to really improve on your psychic insight, is to trust yourself. So everyone right now, you guys are receiving like your own messages, your own healing or clearing, whatever is for you, you're receiving it right now. And if anybody after this wants to share their experience, you can. So while that's going on, I'm going to call in some high-dimensional crystalline energies and sun energies to just permeate the space and just move through your energy fields, clearing out any blockages or bringing any kind of expansion, refreshment of your energies. Some of you can even pop the question of being introduced to one of your multidimensional aspects and see what comes forward. So that's another interesting question. So I'm going to do that for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to open it up for you guys to share your experience if you want to. And for those who might have trouble feeling anything, like maybe you just don't feel anything, just know that something is happening even if you can't fully feel it right now. You can also invite these high dimensional energies into yourself and just fill your light body with it. Because this is all just upgrades and just all good stuff that you can take with you and integrate it with your own being. So even after like days and weeks and months, like you'll still be integrating because there's just so much, um, there's so much information, there's so much activation happening. And not all of it will be felt. Some of it will unfold over time. All right, just a few more moments. All right, so would anybody like to share their experience? What you felt, what you saw? All right, good.
So for me, what happened as I honed in on the energy, it was like a wave of warm dragon breath floating within my body. Power, ancestors, as well as wisdom and knowledge came. So there was so much grounding strength, as well as I felt like I was able to fly and alchemize the movement throughout my whole entire vessel. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I was seeing some dragons like just blowing fire. So that was really interesting. All right, anybody else? All right. Amazing.
So a little background. I just met her. She's like such a beautiful soul. And I'm like, love. So she brought me to you. And I'm like, really? I'm okay. I'm being drawn over here, but no. I'm gonna go. As soon as I walk in, you talk about being a grid worker, which is what I do, and the white dragons, which is what had just presented to me last year. And I'm like, and so that's who I'm working with. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Right away here, as you're talking, my pineal gland starts being activated. And I'm like, okay, so usually when that happens, something is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so when we start the meditation, I went up with the golden rope, and right away, I saw two dragons and just beautiful, majestic beings, and just flowing, just a lot of flow. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm like, and then you mentioned UFOs, extraterrestrials, and I'm like, or you didn't mention UFOs, it was ETs, I think you mentioned. And I'm like, oh, I want to see some ETs, but it was just mentioned mission, and there's a mission of doing, and it's very intense, and it's worldwide. And so I started it, and it's something that there's some fear coming up from it, and they're like, no, you have to take this leap, like it's your time. And so once I take that leap, I feel the most free I've ever have felt, and so so right away, just tears started coming, and the emotions started coming, because they showed me like how powerful this leap is, and how this is what we've been waiting for you to do. And then I'm in the ocean, and then I see just all these beings just there, just supporting me in this journey. So.
Amazing. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Yeah, me too. I had that.
Anyone else would like to share?
I'll share really quick.
Okay.
I am Jenna. That was really beautiful, thank you. Yeah, so it was really cool. I was like, I kept on calling my energy, so at first, right, I could just feel, I was like really trying to tune into the subtle energies, and I could just feel my cells vibrating. And a thing I like to do to kind of bring myself back to a clean slate, so whatever wants to come through will come through, is, all right, back to neutral, right, breathing into my center. And then as you kind of guided it and asked some questions, and were mentioning different beings that might come through, one by one, not all at once, but slowly, a couple of different beings, two smaller beings. I feel like maybe, like one was like gnome-like.
Yeah.
Gnome.
I see a lot of gnomes.
Okay. And then like almost like a childlike spirit, which made me feel kind of, maybe it was an elf, was the next one. And then a more alien-like, probably, it felt like a Pleiadian energy. And they were all just kind of there with me, right? And I was calling my energy, okay, back to neutral again. And then asking them like, okay, like what, I was kind of just like tuning into this vibration of, oh, what's this message? And all at once, it was so crazy, right? Like two smaller beings on either side of me pulled my shoulders back, and the other being like pushing on my middle back to make me sit up straight. And it was like this message to like energetically like sit up straight, to like let the energy flow through my channels better. And like to do that, it was like a message, like do this more. It was like a very like stern energy coming through. It wasn't like motherly or like nurturing. It was like sit up straight, girl, right? And it was, and then you asked like, oh, to like you guided the thing of like show me like one of my
Multidimensional. Yeah.
multi-dimensional beings. And so the first thing, and then what appeared right in front of me was I had wrote this short story last year called The Quantum Queen. And it was this journey of my inner child bringing me down into my depths, right? And going through this golden lit door, and inside, so then I was, and inside was the queen who lives within me, that is me. So I was like there with my two selves, right? All of these beings that simultaneously, like they're all living within me. And it's just like, what frequency am I vibrating at that I'm embodying? Which one am I embodying? And my quantum queen just like appeared on a throne in front of me with these beings still like making me sit up straight. And so it was like this very stern energy of very stern message of to continue stepping into. And then what's ironic too is I've been dealing with a lot of back pain, right? I like messed up my back snowboarding and whatever. And my chiropractor's like, you have a postural issue, stop slouching. So it's been a big thing I've been like conscious of in this past couple of weeks. So for that to be like, and then multiple times during that meditation, I just kept on, and so my quantum queen in front of me, and these beings like supporting me, but also like lovingly supporting me, but sternly like holding me up. Like, bitch, get it together. Like, this is how you step into your power. Seriously.
Exactly.
And like that's how it feels, because I am on this like path of my journey of like embodying my leadership, and so it's just very, very cool energy of being able to, yeah, step into this message of, this is how you step into your gifts. Stand up straight, be confident, right?
Yeah.
And that's like your physical representation of like stepping into my power, and then the energetic representation of like letting the energy flow more fluid. So anyways, that was a really beautiful meditation and really powerful. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So I only have 10 more minutes. So I want to open this up to any potential Q&A. Any questions about anything I spoke about? Yeah.
Okay, I'm very new at all this, and I'm so excited to learn more. And I feel like I'm getting fire hosed like every minute I'm in something because there's just so much information. I just want to take it all in, but I absolutely cannot. But my question is, I had a very short connection when we were doing that exercise, and because I'm so sensitive and aware of everything, I saw your golden robe. I felt the energies in me rising. I felt everything all around, and it's so beautiful. But I get so distracted then. If I hear anything, it pulls me out. And so before I got pulled out, though, I saw a quick vision of a horse on a beach, which is something I saw yesterday when I was planning to come and getting my flight arrangements. It was not a vision, it was something that was actually, I saw it on my phone on one of the social medias, but it like jarred me. I had to save it because I was like, why is that affecting me? And then that's what I saw for that split moment. And the question is, in my journey at the beginning, do you think, I feel like there's past life trauma, I feel like there's a lot of blocking, and my soul and my whole being is awakening and so excited for everything, but I just don't know how to keep hold of that energy. And there's times where I'm in flow and I help people, and I don't even know where the words come from. But then when I'm introspective, it gets really, it's not necessarily heavy, it's just crowded. I guess that's a good way.
Yeah. I get it. So I can't really go deep into like you personally, not here. But I can give you some general, like advice and things that you can do to, move through that. So what you can do is meditation is a really good one. Clearing your energies, and using crystals, grounding. That really helps with trying to connect and navigating through like blockages or like cloudiness and things like that, but I can say that whatever blockages you are feeling, there is some trauma there is some like maybe like some programming there, but the meditation will help you connect with what it is specifically, so I mean
I know. It's hard, but it's just this real quick.
Yeah,
So the only, I've been doing all of that, and I'm having success. I'm definitely making progress, and I'm really excited. I'm so excited to hear. But the avatars was just like, it's like connected. That I feel like sometimes maybe I'm aware of all these different dimensions of me, but because of the programming, because of the other, it's like it's a constant like, yes, no, and maybe that. So I don't even actually know how to ask the question. I don't even know how to.
I mean,
I
understand.
It's great information, and I know it's going to find its way
Right.
in.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to if you feel like you need some assistance and you want to dive deeper more into you specifically, you could work with me, you know. I do offer, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you talk a little bit about this idea of containers and helping people? How can we do that for ourselves and create containers?
So there are different types of containers. So anything that, so are you speaking about what I just did right now?
Well, if I could understand what containers were, I could use it
Okay.
in different ways.
So the containers, when I said that many people are being guided to create certain containers, a container is basically something that you are contributing to the collective. So for example, if you are creating healing services, you know, whether it's psychic readings, energy clearings, you know, if you are facilitating circles, you know, plant medicine, you know, those are containers. Anything that you create to help other people navigate through this reality or help them find healing, that's a container. And yeah, so creating it, you know, it depends on what it is that you feel to create. You know, you just have to be courageous and just step out, you know, yeah, with it. So.
Can you talk about, right when I walked in, you were saying something about retrieving things from different dimensions and some of the great people.
Okay.
Touch base on what that was.
Okay, so it's many different, I could say, artifacts, right? So there have been different, like for example, there was this this artifact that looked like a chalice, like a golden chalice, where and this is like energetically speaking, not so much physical, but sometimes it is physical, where there are many missions being run right now, even by people as well, but a lot of it is happening unconsciously, where they are going into different pocket realities, different realms, to retrieve certain, you know, items, like for example, this golden chalice, to take it back to its proper realm where it belongs, because these items like that, or sometimes it's a key, sometimes it's like a wizard staff, sometimes it's or like an orb of energy. So it could look like anything. It can look like a scroll, a book, whatever. And these artifacts, they have the energy of that specific realm and time. So what they do is that they put it into another realm to kind of, you know, mix the strings of time, you know, and so
Is it messing with the timeline?
that really distorts time. Yes, it does. And so what a lot of these missions do is that they bring these artifacts back into their proper timeline, so that this timeline here can kind of run smoothly. And so there's been a lot of that happening multidimensionally, you know, like people doing it remotely, people having dreams waking up that they, you know, remembered running some astral mission to retrieve something, you know, like stuff like that. So.
I never thought of it in that perspective, because I get lucid, it maybe I didn't realize, I didn't put it in that type of a perspective, so that's really interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Do you see it? Like, have you seen?
Yeah. I have ran several of those missions already. So yeah, because I do a lot of time, you know, work with like the fabric of time and the strings of time, and yeah. So I mean, I see a lot of things. It's a lot. I see a lot of very disturbing things as well, but yeah, you could say I'm like, you know, I'm the guy that cleans things up.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You had a question? Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted you to go into a little bit of dolphin energy.
Oh, the dolphin. Okay, so the dolphin, what they're doing a lot is helping people connect to sound frequencies. So there's many people that are connected with Atlantis, where they did a lot of sound frequencies, where they either they sang, they spoke light language, or they played instruments, things that have to do with sound. So a lot of these people, they work with singing bowls, they work with other things, and they They typically do a lot of light language activations, or they do a lot of singing, a lot of melodies and, things like that. So the dolphin really helps people tune into utilizing the frequencies of sound to heal or to activate or to clear or whatever it is, or to attune somebody to a particular frequency. So, yeah. So that's it. Oh, that's a question.
When you talk about the multidimensionals, how, this is a big concept to me, and I'm wondering how they manifest themselves, especially during the guided meditation, and it's like bringing multi-dimensionals and okay, so how do they manifest?
So when you are in meditation and you need to just pop the question and be like, hey, what multidimensional version wants to step forward? And you will see the embodied version of you. So you might see an angelic being pop up, and and it has like, it'll come in many forms. It all depends on how open you are to that concept, and also just how sensitive you are. Sometimes they might show up as an energy. They might show up as maybe like some object, or if you're dealing with fear, right, with your inner child, they might show up as something really cutesy looking, and then it kind of evolves into what they actually are, just so that you can receive it a little bit better. So that's what I find with people who are connecting with these multidimensional parts of themselves, that there's a little bit of fear. So they kind of come like cartoonish or something sometimes, and just to make the person's inner child feel more comfortable. And so once that, then they kind of, change into their real form. So, yeah.
I have a question. Her question and your answer to it reminded me of it. I wanted to see what your explanation would be. But I remember a few years back, it's crazy. I remember 6 years ago, ironically right after I had my big Kundalini awakening, and I was really fresh and raw to these energies. But I'll never forget it, and I feel like similar stuff happens to a lot of people, and you don't think much of it. I was so consciously aware of it though, where I couldn't find my keys, right? And I looked everywhere, and I specifically remember looking on the windowsill, right? That's where I leave everything. And I looked on the windowsill, and then I checked everywhere else in my home. Nobody else is here. And I come back into my room, and they're on the windowsill, right? And at the time, I was so sensitive to energies that I intuitively felt it as I almost called it just like a glitch in the matrix, right? But I'm wondering. Oh, okay. So I'm curious because it seems like you're really, good with with all this time stuff. What you would explain that to have happened to be?
Okay. So, okay. Can you go through that one more time? One more time, please. Sorry.
I couldn't find my keys, right? And I'm not
Okay.
crazy. I knew in the moment, I was I'm not crazy. I know I looked in this place.
Right.
I believe everything on this windowsill, right? The keys are on. I checked there. There's no keys on the windowsill. I checked my whole home. 5 to 10 minutes later, I come back. They're right there on the windowsill, right? Nobody else is in my house.
Okay.
But to be fair too, I had just had a big awakening where I was blasted open to the energies of the universe, and so I feel like I was already really sensitive to energies, and I don't know. But anyways, it seemed to me like a glitch in the matrix, right?
Yeah. So I have had a couple of those experiences, and many of the clients I work with have told me stuff like that. And with working with time so much, there is a lot of glitching that's happening within our just reality in general. And so certain items, when a glitch happens with time, for example, when you're placing an item in a particular spot and you remember putting it there, and then it just ends up in another spot, and that it for sure that it moved, something happened. That is like a space-time distortion kind of thing, because time is repairing itself.
Yeah, like a timeline jump.
Yeah, so that is one of the side effects of the fabric of time healing itself.
And the ascension process.
And part of the ascension process as well. Yeah. So.
Right when my
Yeah, so like many people are experiencing these like time, glitches and like deja vu and things like that. So that all has to do with time. And so because the time reality is healing, the fabric of time is healing, many people are experiencing different kinds of like time related, phenomenon. So
Well, thank you.
Can I just add to that? So I've had a lot of that. Okay? And I fervently believe, and the reason I'm saying this is because there's a healer that I've worked with, and he talked me into buying this healing modality. It's called pulsars, and they're not cheap. And I had them in a particular place, and I was 100% confident where they were, and they just disappeared. And I asked my cleaning lady, because she's notorious about moving shit, and, I told her it's not to, but it happens, and nothing. And I looked everywhere around where I knew that they were. I got under the chair, I got under the bed, just not there. Like several weeks later, it just reappears. And it reappears by my cleaning lady saying, oh, these were under the chair. And I'm like, no, they weren't. I checked under the chair like 10 times. And this was like several weeks later. And what the healer I broke it told me, he goes, oh, that happens all the time. Spirit takes things. Spirit takes physical things from the physical realm into spirit and does whatever they need to do with them and then brings them back.
Calibrates it, maybe.
And I just,
Upgrades with a different energy, maybe.
because, and a lot of times, it's either something that's powerful or something that is connected to a deceased person that I knew. So it happened again recently. I have something that's in my car. It's always there because I need it to stand checks. I deposit checks for a trust that I administer, and I never take it out of the car. So that's always there when I get to the bank. And I went on vacation. I came back, and it's just gone. And again, the man who's trusted, he was kind of a character. And I just said, it's Dick just messing with me. You know what I mean? And he took the stand. So, but it happens to me all the time. It's just, and so would you agree that sometimes spirit has the ability of just taking things?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that spirit does have the ability to do that, but they only do that on specific instances when they are trying to get your attention about something.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do believe that happens for sure.
And it was funny because with the healing modality, the pulsars, I ended up buying another set, like 6 years off. So I was a little ticked off, but when I went back to the healer that I worked with, Ken, he introduced me to this new thing that I can do with them, where I needed 2 sets. And so it's just the whole experience is just kind of bizarre.
Yeah. I did wanted to mention that because I think my time is done, but that if you guys would like to conversate with me more, I would be at my booth with my partner. She's there. She's selling crystals and all kinds of tinctures and stuff. So you guys can visit her at P24 at the lower lobby.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.